717 to 114. 9 weeks, no Ozempic, no medication. I dropped my triglycerides by 84% from 717 to 114 and reversed prediabetes by redesigning my environment. I just retired at 40. Financial independence. Living the dream, no job, no boss, no stress. But when my lab results came back, I was staring at 717 triglycerides on my phone with shaking hands. Normal is under 150. Anything over 500 is very high. Serious risk for acute pancreatitis and heart attack. My glucose, 107. Pre-diabetic. I was exhausted all the time. Brain fog, waking up 2-3 times a night. I'd spent years fantasizing about this freedom, and now I could barely make it through the day. Here's the crushing part. I had all the time in the world to take care of myself, and I wasn't doing it. What good is financial independence if you don't live long enough to enjoy it? So I had a choice to make. My doctor looks at these numbers and says, we should talk about GLP-1, Ozempic, Wegovy. They're very effective for metabolic issues like this. And she's right. These medications work. They've transformed lives. But here's the thing. The medication only works while you're taking it. A 2023 study published in Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism tracked patients who stopped GLP-1s after 12 months. Within 1 year of stopping, they regained an average of 2/3 of their weight they've lost. Their metabolic markers, glucose, triglycerides, A1C, all crept back toward baseline. That dependency was a real issue for me. So were the side effects. Clinical trials show 40 to 70% of patients deal with nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and constipation. I already have GI sensitivity, so rolling the dice on making that worse didn't feel like a win. Then there's cost. $900 to $1,300 a month in the US without insurance. I wanted to see if I could fix the root cause first. And the real reason I chose this path, I had something most people don't: time and financial flexibility. I was 40, not 60. I didn't have advanced disease. I had the portfolio to slow travel, to move to cities with better infrastructure, to invest in my health without worrying about missing work. So I asked myself, what if I treated my health like a startup? What if I could redesign my entire environment to make the healthy choices? I've been bouncing around Seoul, Japan, Canada, but I needed a place where I could actually build systems, somewhere with the right infrastructure. That's when I decided Mexico City. Here's what I realized. You can't willpower your way out of a broken environment. If your city is designed for cars, you won't walk. If your healthcare system makes lab work a nightmare, you won't track your data. If your food culture is built around processed convenience, you'll eat processed convenience. It's not about discipline. It's about design. So I moved to Mexico City as an experiment. I wanted to see, could I build an environment where healthy behaviors were easy? Turns out I could. Let me show you what frictionless healthcare actually looks like. In the US, specifically Nevada, where I was based before, my health insurance was over $600 a month with a $10,000 deductible. Getting a GP appointment, 2 to 3 months. Sometimes a year. I'm not exaggerating. Outside the United States, I pay $290 a month for Cigna Global Health Insurance. $1 million in annual coverage, $3,000 deductible, and it covers me globally, including when I'm back in the US for short trips. And here's the real difference. I can walk into a lab in Mexico with no appointment, no referral, and say, I want a comprehensive metabolic panel. They hand me a price sheet with different options. It's about $40 to $175, depending on how deep I want to go. I pay, they draw my blood. Within 48 hours, the results are emailed to me as a PDF. No waiting weeks. No begging the doctor for permission to see my own data. And before anyone says, yeah, the quality must be lower, Many Mexican physicians train at top schools like UNAM or completed residencies in the United States or abroad. The difference isn't the quality, it's the system overhead. In the US, you're paying for insurance company red tape, hospital administration costs, and a system designed to extract maximum profit. In Mexico, you're paying for the actual service. Here's why this matters. When you can check your triglycerides as easily as you can check your bank account, you start managing your health like you manage your finances. Data becomes useful. I got my initial blood work, fasting glucose, triglycerides, HbA1c, lipid panel, liver enzymes. That's when I saw the problems. 8 weeks later, I went back for a follow-up to see if what I was doing was actually working, and it was. My doctor looked at the results and said, "Let's check again in 6 months. You're doing great." That's the thing. When your numbers improve, you can space out the testing. If they hadn't improved, we would have been back at it in 90 days, adjusting the approach. I wasn't guessing, I was tracking. I used to skip breakfast entirely. I make a flat white and call that breakfast. By noon, I was starving. I'd overeat at lunch. By 3 p.m., I'd crash. By 9 p.m., I was raiding the pantry for chips or cookies. So I made a new plan. I started with eggs, which provided protein and fat, oats, which provided fiber and slow-burning carbs, berries, which provides antioxidants, low blood sugar impact, and then the coffee. Coffee came after food, not instead of it. And here's why this works. A 2021 study in Cell Metabolism found that eating a high-protein breakfast, at least 25 grams of protein, reduced after-meal blood sugar spikes by 30% and decreased cravings for high-carb snacks by up to 60% later in the day. Your body literally controls hunger hormones more effectively when you start with protein. You don't need to eliminate carbs completely to make this work. I'm Asian. I grew up on rice and noodles. I wasn't about to give that up. So I didn't. I just changed the balance of my meals. Protein and fiber first, carbs second. For example, Japanese ramen, that rich, creamy pork broth. I'd order it with extra chashu pork, and I eat the protein first. The pork, the soft-boiled egg, any vegetables. Then I'd eat the noodles. Same meal, same satisfaction, but my body processed it completely differently. When you eat protein and fat first, it slows down how quickly the carbs hit your bloodstream. You avoid that massive blood sugar spike. You stay full longer. And here's the key. In Mexico City, this was easy. I'd walk to local open markets or street stalls in Roma Norte. Fresh avocados, tomatoes, peppers, grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, organic eggs, all right there. Even the local supermarkets had incredibly fresh produce sections. A week's worth of groceries typically cost me around $50 to $60. In the US, the same quality at Whole Foods or even Trader Joe's would have been at least $150, if not more. But I wasn't cooking every meal at home. I ate out at least once a day. I ordered fish ceviche with tostadas, the fresh white fish marinated in lime juice, tomatoes, onions, cilantro. Always have my tacos, whether it be steak or chicken, corn tortillas, guacamole, onions, cilantro, light cheese. Notice what's happening here? The steak, chicken, fish, and the ceviche, that's the star. The tortillas or tostadas are there, but they're not the bulk of the meal. I'm getting healthy fats from the avocado, fiber from the vegetables, and the corn tortillas are whole grain, not refined flour. The abundance of fresh, high-quality protein and produce, whether I was cooking at home or eating out, made this feel like abundance, not restriction. I wasn't starving. I wasn't restricting. I was eating more food, more volume, more nutrients, but fewer empty calories. Within 3 weeks, something clicked. I wasn't constantly thinking about food. No 3 p.m. energy crashes, no late night cravings. I felt satisfied after meals. I changed my relationship with food. I could enjoy eating without guilt. I had the energy that lasted all day. I could have my ramen and my rice. I just structured it differently. Food was the foundation, but I also added 3 key supplements to support this process, not as a replacement for good nutrition, but as targeted support for specific metabolic issues. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice. Do your own research and talk to your healthcare provider before starting any supplements. Let me break down exactly what I took and why. The first thing, omega-3, but heavy on the EPA. I took an omega-3 supplement with 1,500 milligrams of EPA and 500 milligrams of DHA daily. That's a 3-to-1 ratio, heavily weighted towards EPA. Most fish oil supplements are balanced, maybe 500 EPA and 500 DHA. But for triglycerides, EPA is what matters. High-dose EPA supplements can reduce triglycerides by 18 to 25% in patients with high levels. It costs about $30 a month. Number 2, berberine, before lunch and dinner. Berberine is a compound extracted from plants like golden seal and barberry. I took 500 milligrams before lunch and 500 milligrams before dinner, 1,000 milligrams total per day. Multiple studies showed that berberine can lower fasting blood glucose by 15 to 20% and improve insulin sensitivity comparably to metformin, which is a first-line diabetes drug. The cost, about $15 to $20 a month. Number 3, magnesium bisglycinate, 200 milligrams 2 hours before bed. Magnesium plays a role in over 300 reactions in your body, including glucose metabolism and insulin function. A 2017 study in diabetes care found that people with higher magnesium intake had a 47% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. I specifically chose magnesium bisglycinate, not magnesium oxide, which is the cheap stuff you find in most drugstores. Bisglycinate is chelated, meaning it's bound to an amino acid, which makes it highly absorbable and easier on your digestive system. The cost? About $10 a month. So altogether, I was spending around $60 a month in supplements. That's less than 2 dinners out, and way less than going on Ozempic. Were the supplements the reason I reversed my prediabetes? No. The food, the movement, the sleep, the data tracking, that was the foundation. But did they speed up the process and give me targeted support where I needed it most? Absolutely. If you're going to take supplements, take ones with actual clinical evidence behind them. Don't just grab whatever's on sale. Do the research. Check the dosages and the labels. Buy quality brands. Now let's talk about movement. Here's the thing about exercise. Willpower fails, but environment wins. In most places in the US, your default mode is car to parking lot to building to desk. You have to actively decide to exercise. You have to get in your car, drive to a gym, find parking, change clothes, work out, shower, drive home. That's a lot of decision points where friction can kill the habit. In Mexico City, walking is the default. I wasn't working out. I was just living. The city was designed for human movement. Restaurants are walkable, markets are walkable. Metro stations require stairs, lots of stairs. The infrastructure assumes you're on foot. So I had a mandatory 20-minute post-meal walk. After breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 20 minutes minimum. Didn't matter where, around the block, to the park, to a cafe, just move. Here's why this works. A 2022 study in sports medicine found a 15-minute walk after meals reduced blood sugar spikes by 17 to 30%, with the biggest impact after dinner. For someone in prediabetes, this is huge. The mechanism is simple. Muscle contraction increases glucose uptake into cells independently of insulin. You're literally pulling sugar out of your bloodstream without medication. Let's talk about the climate advantage. I chose Mexico City partly for the weather. Year-round spring, 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit on most days. It's easy to walk when it's not 110 degrees Fahrenheit in Vegas or -10 with 3 feet of snow in Toronto. Your environment should make good decisions easy. I went from averaging 3,500 steps a day in Vegas to 10,000 steps a day in Mexico City. And I wasn't trying. I was just living my life. That's the power of intentional environment design. I joined a local tennis club, played twice a week. I joined a Pilates studio, and I went twice a week. Both forced me to show up. Both gave me a social contract. And most importantly, both kept me off my phone. When you're playing tennis, you can't scroll. When you're in a Pilates class, you can't check email. That focused, intentional movement, where you're actually present, that's different than mindlessly walking on a treadmill while watching Netflix. I know most of you can't just pack up and move to Mexico City or to another country. You've got a job, you've got kids, you've got a mortgage, you live in a city that was designed for cars, not for people. But here's what I learned. The principles are portable. You don't need to copy my exact situation. You need to reverse engineer the framework so it fits with your lifestyle. Where is it hard to be healthy in your current environment? Is your gym 20 minutes away by car? That's friction. Every time you want to work out, you have to make 5 decisions. Get in the car, drive there, find parking, change clothes, actually work out. So the solution, can you walk or bike to the park instead? Can you do bodyweight workouts at home? Can you find a gym that's literally on your route home from work? Can you find a gym that is much closer to your home? Is healthy food expensive or far away? Where's the nearest farmer's market? Can you batch cook on Sundays? So healthy food is already in your fridge when you're tired on a Wednesday night? The goal here is simple. Reduce the gap between intention and action. If something requires 5 steps, you probably won't do it. If it requires 1 step, you probably will. When I was paying $600 a month for insurance, I rarely used in the US, that was $7,200 a year in sunk cost. Now, I pay $290 a month for Cigna Global, and I actually use my healthcare because it's accessible. But more importantly, I'm not stressed about healthcare costs anymore. That mental overhead, worrying about deductibles, worrying about approvals, worrying about surprise bills, that chronic low-grade stress, it's gone. And you know what? Chronic financial stress raises cortisol. Cortisol raises blood sugar, makes it harder to reverse prediabetes. It's all connected. So let's recap. Where is it hard to be healthy? How can you remove one decision? When was the last time you invested in a deep dive blood work? Where is the financial stress showing up in your life? And can you redesign it? You don't need to move to Mexico City. You just need to ask better questions about your environment. 9 weeks after I started this experiment in Mexico City, I walked into a lab and got my blood drawn again. I opened the email with the results, and here's what I saw. Glucose, 98 milligrams per DL, down from 107. This is in normal range. Triglycerides, 114 milligrams per DL, down from 717. That's an 84% reduction in 9 weeks. I dropped 603 milligrams per DL, and that's potentially life-changing. But here's what the numbers don't show you. My energy, I wake up at 8 a.m. without an alarm. No grogginess, no hitting snooze 5 times a day. I'm just awake. I don't crash at 2 p.m. anymore. No brain fog, no need for second or third coffee, just to stay functional. Sleep. I fall asleep within 10 minutes of laying down. I stay asleep through the night. I used to wake up 2 to 3 times tossing, turning. Now, 7 to 8 hours straight through. Mental clarity. The fog is gone. I can focus, I can think clearly, I can hold conversations without losing my train of thought. I'm not irritable anymore. I'm not anxious. Food isn't a source of guilt or stress. I can sit down for a meal and actually enjoy it without the voice in the back of my head saying, you shouldn't be eating this. This isn't just health. This is quality of life. And I don't just have better numbers on a lab report. I feel like a different person. I feel like the person I was supposed to be before years of stress and bad habits caught up with me. When was the last time you got blood work done? Most people get tested once a year at their annual physical, maybe. And by the time you see the results, they're already 6 weeks old. And your doctor just says, everything looks fine, even when your glucose is 105 and creeping towards prediabetes. If you're trying to reverse prediabetes or improve your metabolic health, you need to track like an athlete. Here's something most people don't know. You can order your own lab work in most US states without a doctor's order. Services like LabCorp On Demand and Quest MyQuest let you walk in, pay around $100 to $200 for a comprehensive metabolic panel, and get results emailed to you within 48 hours. No insurance, no referral, no begging a doctor for permission. Yeah, it's more expensive than Mexico City or in Korea, but it's accessible. You don't need insurance approval. You don't need to wait 3 months for a GP appointment. The point is that you can't improve what you don't measure. And the data matters more than you think. When I could see my triglycerides drop from 717 to 114 over the course of 9 weeks, that wasn't abstract. That was proof. That kept me going. If you're flying blind, guessing whether your diet is working based on how you feel, you're going to quit when it gets hard. But if you have data showing you're winning, you keep playing. Here's what I got wrong about financial independence. I thought the point was to retire at 40 and do nothing, to travel aimlessly and check out from responsibility. But after 9 weeks of this experiment, I realized something different. Financial independence didn't give me health. It gave me agency, the freedom to design a life where health was the natural outcome. I could choose a city with walkable infrastructure. I could afford my sub $300 a month insurance with global coverage and actually use it. I could buy high-quality food without stressing about the grocery bill. I could prioritize tennis and Pilates over grinding for a paycheck. The real unlock wasn't the money. It was the ability to engineer my environment. Because here's the truth. Willpower fades. Discipline is finite. But the environment is the system your life runs on. I didn't reverse prediabetes through heroic effort. I didn't force my way through with some miserable diet. I didn't punish myself at the gym for hours every day. I just changed my environment where the healthy behaviors were easier than the unhealthy ones. Redesigned a system. The results will follow. So here's my question for you. What's one friction point you're going to audit this week? Is it your food? The way you move? Or your financial overhead? Or your expenses? Pick one, just one, and ask yourself, how can I make this easier? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what you're working on. Medical disclaimer, your results may vary. Please consult a healthcare professional for actual health issues. This video is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. If you want to follow along as I continue this experiment, hit subscribe.